Hi there, Susan here. It's been a while since I made a video, and I thought I would share what I'm making right now because this is something new I haven't done before. And it's a quick project. You can make as many of these as you want. And I'm making little mug rugs. So little squares. These are going to be wool. I'm using a cotton warp, and I decided to use black. I don't know, I just thought it'd be something kind of different. But this is just your regular 8/4 rug warp, and it is set at 4 ends per inch, and I hope you can see the spacing here. And so I set this up, I think this is 3 sections on my Union 36. And they measure about 5.5 inches, so I'm trying to make them approximately square. And I think I warped up enough to make 12 of these, but I may have more or less. I've lost count. The rags that you see woven in here are just spacing for my fringe, and I'll show how I finish these when I get these all done. But I'll cut these apart, take the cotton out. And one of the things I hope you can see this. So I'm just using scrap rags, and you can see the rags that I wove with here are thinner, and so they pack in so you don't see any of the weft. And here the rags were wider, and so they don't pack in as much, and you can see the warp. I think I said weft. So I'm doing weft-faced weaving, and one way you can kind of judge how far apart you need to space your yarn is if you're doing weft-faced weaving and you want to cover the warp completely, you need to leave a wide space in between your warps. And so one way to kind of judge is leave approximately the width of the yarn that you're weaving with. Now I'm using all wool yarn. Some of it is my hand spun yarn that I have hand dyed, and some of it is commercial yarn, and it varies a little bit in thicknesses, but it seems to work okay. It just packs down a little bit differently. So, oh, and I started these with some thicker. I think this is like a 3/2 cotton. At the beginning and the end, I just wove 5 picks so that the black warp would kind of blend in. And I don't know how that's going to work. I think it's drawing in a little bit, so that may have been a bad decision. So maybe I should do a couple where I don't use that. What else? Oh, because this packs in so nicely, when I change yarn, I can just overlap it. And so all these little ends, I'll go back. And these are some embroidery scissors that I just came by accidentally, but they work really well for this. Now I can also, I have a sweater shaver, and I will probably shave these with the sweater shaver. I can't say that. So that's kind of where I'm at. And this is a great project if you want to experiment with weaving on your loom, is to make some mug rugs, and you want to experiment with different spacing. And something you could do is just do a sampler, because it doesn't take any time at all to warp up, you know, a short section like this, and it's so widely spaced. But you know, you could try different thicknesses of weft just to see how they pack in and how you like it. But wool is great to weave with. So I'm just finishing up with this color here. And so when I change, I'm just gonna lay that in there, let the little ends hang out. And then let's see, I'm gonna go to this. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say, because this is such a little narrow piece, I didn't feel like I needed my shuttle. And typically, this is the shuttles that I use. And well, I was using a paper straw. I've got another shuttle that's wider, but I thought this would just be kind of awkward weaving on this little thin piece. So I'm not using my shuttles at all. I'm just using my bobbins. Or you could use if you had like a small little ball, this would work just fine. And this is a great way to use up little scraps that you have. So I just overlap the yarn here. Probably should have done something with more contrast, but let's see. I'll make sure I have that right. That's and notice I'm changing sheds with the reed at the fell line, and I think that helps to kind of pack in a little bit more. You can also use a fork to pack things down if it's not packing down as much as you want. But if you haven't done weft-faced weaving and you want to get into doing like wool rugs, this would be a great project to get started. Or you go a little bit wider and make table runners. So that's all I do there. Now this one I've just been doing stripes. I do some, I do all kinds of different kinds of patterns. I don't think you can see the other ones, but let's say I want to do pick and pick where you alternate colors. So let's see. I'm gonna get this will really show up. This yarn is hand spun. It was dyed with madder. Oh, wait a minute. Matching shades. There we go. So I'm gonna put this in, and I'm gonna just wrap this end around to secure it, since I'm not overlapping ends. So there's one. And a lot of times I weave, when I do this kind of weaving, I weave with floating selvages, and I didn't set up this time. So you have to pay attention about how your yarns are wrapping around each other. That's the most complicated thing of the whole thing. So you want it so it wraps and goes under that outside warp. You don't want it missing the warp. And this will make little columns. Now, my rosy, peachy colored yarn is thicker than my blue yarn that I'm weaving with, so it's going to stand out a little bit more. There's no right or wrong. I mean, it's just totally what you want to do. I don't want too much of that because it's so bright it's going to overwhelm, even if it's just a little mug rug. Let's see. I'm going to do one more. Actually, I'm going to do one more because it's kind of thick on that side where I doubled it to bring it into the shed. So I think I'll finish this color on the left side. Okay, and I don't know where I put my scissors. Oh, here they are. Normally I have a weaving bench that I sit on, but I couldn't get my camera and everything in here. So I've got a different chair. So just cut that. And I'm gonna kind of wrap it around. It's gonna go over under 2 warps on that side, so you'll actually be able to see where I did it, but these are mug rugs, they're not a big deal. Okay, so let's, whoops, change shades again. So if I was doing stripes, let's see, looking for some yarn that'll contrast a little more. Well, this will really contrast. Okay, so I might want to do some alternating stripes. So I'm going to start a different color in here. And tuck it under. And so let's say instead of alternating the two colors, I want to do a couple of picks of one color and then a couple of picks of the other color. So I have to kind of make sure I wrap around. That's where the floating selvage makes life so much easier. And let's say I do 3 of these. And then, so I want to make sure I get wrapped around here. So I can just kind of run this other color. And let's see, maybe I'll do 1, 2. I'm going to wrap around this one so it kind of runs up along with the warp, because I don't want, I'm going to do a few picks and maybe I just don't want to keep changing. I could, but sometimes it's easier. 3, 4, and go around that again. And every situation's different depending on where you're coming in the shed and going out of the shed, how you want to, oops, daisy. It would be good if I changed the correct shed. I can't talk and weave at the same time. And then now I want to go back to my other color and kind of wrap around there. So, and there's lots of books and information about different ways you can weave. This is just basically color and weave. And again, I don't want to just leave that hanging and keep on weaving. I want to make sure that I get that caught up in there. I had the right, and that I change the sheds appropriately. And that's all I want of that in there, I think. Now I could, instead of tucking it back into the same shed, I'm just gonna weave just a little bit of that in there. Now, of course, I could also weave different patterns in here. So I could take one color and go over and then meet. But that's more of the tapestry technique. And maybe I'll do a video on that later. And I've got some good recommendations if you're interested too on good books that you can learn about more of a tapestry style. So that's all I'm going to do today. Hope you have a great day.